Think about this. Right now, your eyes are tracking this screen, your brain is processing my voice, and you're sitting up straight at your desk. How is your body managing all of this at once? Welcome back. Today we are tackling Chapter 6, Control and Coordination. CBSE loves this chapter, especially the 5-mark diagram of the human brain. In the next few minutes, we're going to map out exactly how neurons send signals, clean up the confusion around the forebrain and hindbrain, and make sure you can draw these structures perfectly for your board exams. Let's decode it. 1. Animal nervous system and AMP. Signal transmission. The cellular physics of a neuron. The nervous tissue is an intricately organized network of neurons designed for rapid information conduction. The transmission of an environmental signal happens through a precise sequence of structural regions. The dendritic tip. Specialized receptors like gustatory for taste and olfactory for smell sit in our sense organs. When an environmental stimulus hits these tips, it initiates a localized chemical reaction. This chemical reaction is what generates the initial electrical impulse. The axon. The electrical impulse travels rapidly from the dendrite, passes through the cell body containing the nucleus, and runs the entire length of the elongated axon to its terminal nerve endings. The synapse conversion. When the electrical impulse reaches the nerve ending, it cannot leap across the physical gap to the next neuron as electricity. Instead, the impulse forces the terminal to release chemical neurotransmitters. These chemicals diffuse across the synaptic gap, bind to the dendritic tip of the next neuron, and restart the electrical impulse. Stimulus dendrite tip release next neuron. The neuromuscular junction. When a nervous impulse finally reaches its destination, a muscle cell or gland, it crosses a specialized synapse called a neuromuscular junction. Cellular movement. To cause movement, animal muscle cells must physically alter their shape by shortening. Protein rearrangement. Muscle cells contain highly specialized proteins. When the electrical impulse triggers the muscle cell, these proteins rapidly change their chemical shape and reorient their physical arrangement within the cell, shifting into a tighter, shorter form. Imagine you accidentally touch a boiling hot cup of tea while studying at home. Your hand pulls away instantly, before you even realize what happened. That's a reflex arc in action, and it is one of the most frequently asked questions in CBSE Class 10 Science. You don't need a lab or a school classroom to understand how your spinal cord takes control here. Today, we are breaking down the exact path a nerve impulse takes so you can ace any case-based question CBSE throws at you. No complicated jargon, just clear concepts. Let's get started. Evolutionary purpose of the reflex arc. The brain's thinking tissue, situated at the forward end of the skull, is a dense, incredibly complex network of millions of interconnected neurons. Because thinking requires thousands of impulses to interact across this network, it is a fundamentally slow process. If you touch a hot object, the time required for a sensory nerve to travel up to the brain, undergo complex processing, and send a motor signal back down would be long enough for severe tissue damage to occur. The design solution. The body bypasses the brain for the immediate output. All peripheral nerves meet in a massive bundle within the spinal cord on their way to the brain. The spinal cord links the input sensory nerve directly to the output motor nerve, forming a reflex arc. While the reflex arc instantly triggers the arm muscle to contract, a signal is simultaneously sent up to the brain so that you register the sensation of pain after the hand is already safe. Many primitive animals lack complex brain networks entirely. For them, reflex arcs evolved as the primary, highly efficient system of environmental interaction. 2. Anatomical subdivisions of the human brain. The brain and spinal cord form the central nervous system, CNS, which acts as the main integration hub. The peripheral nervous system, PNS, acts as the communication network, featuring cranial nerves, 12 pairs originating from the brain, and spinal nerves, arising from the spinal cord. The forebrain, the cerebrum. The forebrain is the largest and most complex part of the brain. Sensory reception. It contains completely distinct, dedicated regions for interpreting specific inputs like hearing, sight, and smell. Association areas. These are sophisticated regions that do not just receive data. They interpret incoming sensory info by juxtaposing it against information arriving from other sense organs and information already stored in your memory. Voluntary control. Once a conscious decision is made, the association areas pass signals to the motor areas, which deliberately contract voluntary skeletal muscles, e.g., deciding to write, talk, or move a chair. Satiety center. Completely isolated from the sensory areas is a dedicated center tracking hunger, which tells you when your stomach is full based on internal body feedback. 2. The midbrain and hindbrain, the involuntary regulators. While you can choose to walk or clap, you cannot easily choose to change your blood pressure or digest food through conscious thought. These involuntary actions are heavily governed by the lower structures. The medulla, hindbrain, absolutely crucial for survival. It directly regulates automatic, life-sustaining functions including blood pressure, salivation, heartbeat, breathing, and vomiting. The cerebellum, hindbrain, tucked at the back. It does not initiate movement, but it acts as a precision controller. Anytime you perform an action requiring extreme coordination, like riding a bicycle, walking a perfectly straight line, or precisely picking up a pencil, the cerebellum coordinates the exact muscle sequences to maintain your posture and equilibrium. Plants don't have a nervous system or a brain, so how do they know to grow towards the sunlight outside your window? Or close their leaves when touched? The secret lies in chemical messengers called phytohormones, like auxin, gibberellins, and abscisic acid. CBSE loves to test the differences between plant and animal coordination. Today, we're locking down those crucial 2 and 3 mark questions on plant growth regulators so you don't lose easy marks. Keep your notebook ready, and let's master this chapter together. 3. Coordination and movements in plants. Plants rely entirely on chemical and localized cellular mechanics because they possess zero nervous tissue or muscle fibers. Non-growth movements. Turgor pressure changes the rapid folding of Chui mui, Mimosa pudica, leaves as independent of growth. The dilemma. If a plant is touched at point A, the cells at point B, the base of the leaf, are the ones that actually move. This proves that information must be communicated across the plant body. The mechanism. Plants use localized electrochemical waves to pass the information from cell to cell. Lacking proteins to contract, plant cells move by altering their water volume. Cells rapidly pump water in or out. Absorbing water causes cells to swell, while expelling water causes them to shrink, physically dropping or folding the leaf structure. Growth-driven movements. Tropisms. Tropic movements are slow, directional growth responses either toward a stimulus, positive, or away from a stimulus, negative. Phototropism. The text highlights activity 6.2, where a plant is placed inside a dark box with only one open side facing a window light source. Over days, the shoot physically bends toward the light tie as positive phototropism, while the root bends away negative phototropism. Geotropism. Shoots exhibit negative geotropism by growing upward against gravity, while roots consistently exhibit positive geotropism by growing downward into the earth. Chemotropism. Growth driven by chemical gradients. The absolute primary example is the highly regulated growth of a pollen tube downward through the style toward the ovule during plant reproduction. Thigmotropism, tendril mechanics. Climbing plants use tendrils that are intensely sensitive to touch. When a tendril makes physical contact with an object, like a fence wire, the cells directly touching the wire experience a halt or slowdown in growth. Meanwhile, the cells on the exact opposite side, away from the support, continue to elongate rapidly. This uneven growth rate forces the tendril to naturally curl, creating a tight anchor around the support. 4. The plant hormone spectrum, phytohormones. Electrical signaling in multicellular organisms has massive limitations. It can only reach cells connected by nerve networks, and a cell needs a reset period after an impulse before it can fire again. Plants solve this by using diverse chemical compounds that diffuse from their site of synthesis to their site of action. Auxins, formed exclusively at the ultrasensitive shoot tips. When light falls uniformly, auxins distribute evenly. However, when light comes from a single side, auxins actively migrate and diffuse over to the shaded side of the stem. The high concentration of auxin on the shaded side forces those specific cells to grow significantly longer than the cells on the illuminated side, physically pivoting the stem toward the light source. Gibberellins work in tandem with auxins but are specialized in promoting the rapid elongation of the main stem internodes. Cytokinins directly promote active cell division. Consequently, they are found in naturally dense, concentrated amounts in areas undergoing rapid growth, such as developing embryos, fruits, and seeds. Abscisic acid. Organisms require a stop mechanism to prevent chaotic growth. Abscisic acid acts as a growth inhibitor, closing stomata, inducing seed dormancy, and triggering the physical wilting and shedding of aging leaves. 5. Detailed endocrine mechanics in animals. The endocrine system serves as a secondary, body-wide control network operating via hormones secreted directly into the bloodstream. The adrenaline emergency cascade. When an animal perceives an acute environmental threat, the nervous system triggers the adrenal glands, located atop the kidneys, to dump adrenaline into the blood. This initiates a systemic survival response. 1. Cardiac acceleration. Adrenaline binds to receptors on the heart, causing it to beat violently fast, maximizing oxygen and glucose delivery. 2. Vascular shunting. Smooth muscles surrounding the small arteries of the digestive system and skin contract sharply, reducing blood flow to these non-essential areas. This shifts the entire blood volume directly into the central skeletal muscles. 3. Respiratory surge. The diaphragm and rib muscles increase their contraction speed, driving up the breathing rate to rapidly load oxygen into the bloodstream. Hormone levels must be perfectly balanced. Even minor deviations can lead to severe pathology. The body controls this via strict feedback loops tracking real-time blood chemistry. Blood sugar rises. In GT, pancreas detects in GT, secretes insulin in GT. Sugar falls. In GT, insulin secretion drops the blood sugar loop. When you digest a meal, glucose levels in the blood rise. Specialized cells within the pancreas instantly detect this change and respond by secreting insulin, which signals body cells to absorb glucose. As glucose levels drop back to normal, the pancreas cuts off insulin production to prevent dangerous hypoglycemia. If this system fails, it causes diabetes, requiring manual insulin injections. The metabolism loop. The thyroid gland requires iodine from our diet to synthesize thyroxin. Thyroxin controls the overall metabolic breakdown of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats to maintain proper developmental balance. If iodine is missing, the thyroid cannot make the hormone, leading to a compensatory swelling of the gland known as goiter. The growth loop. The pituitary gland releases growth hormone to dictate uniform organ development. This is overseen by the hypothalamus, which acts as the ultimate master switch. If the hypothalamus senses that growth hormone levels are too low, it secretes a specialized growth hormone releasing factor, forcing the pituitary gland to release the necessary growth hormone. An undersecretion during childhood results in dwarfism, while an oversecretion causes gigantism. And that is how your body keeps everything under control. But just watching this won't lock in those board exam marks. Here is your quick homework challenge. Close this tab, grab a blank sheet of paper, and try to draw and label a neuron or a reflex arc from memory. Drop a comment below letting me know which part tripped you up. See? Control and coordination doesn't have to be overwhelming when you break it down step by step. Now that you know the functions of the different brain regions and endocrine glands, open your NCERT textbook to the back exercises. Try solving the questions on thyroid and growth hormones. You'll realize you already know the answers. You're doing an amazing job studying independently from home. Keep up this momentum, review this topic tonight, and I'll see you in our next video to crush the next chapter. Don't forget to hit subscribe as we cover the rest of the Class 10 Science syllabus chapter by chapter. Stay focused, and I'll see you in the next session.